Hey everybody, I'm Seth V for the Knife Center, and welcome back to New Knives of the Week. I've got the coolest new knives that just hit our shelves right here on the table in front of me. Let's check them out. We're going to kick things off today with a knife that is not new, but that is sort of newsworthy, and that is this Custom Knife Factory Terzola Eagle Rock Flipper. Now, this knife is actually available as a giveaway right now on our Instagram page. This comes in at $1,600 and $50. $1,650 for this thing right here, but you can get it for free if you enter the giveaway on our Instagram. Now, normally we don't necessarily always promote Instagram giveaways on YouTube, but lately Instagram has made it hard for us to reach new people on Instagram, so we're coming here to our YouTube audience to let you guys know to follow us on Instagram, go and find this post, give it a like, share it to your story, leave a comment, and we'll be picking a winner next week. So you could be taking this knife home, and it is so special. I mean, not only is it huge, not only is it an iconic Terzola tactical knife design, it's also just absolutely dripping in polished Damasteel, carbon fiber, titanium. Knives really don't get any more premium and special than this. So with a giveaway like that, we really wanted to share it to our YouTube audience. So check it out on Instagram. So now let's get to the knives that you can actually buy.
Well, they can buy that.
True, we do have a few more of them in stock. If you're not lucky enough, you can feel free to spend the $16.50 and pick one up for yourself. The next knife is also kind of special. In fact, it celebrates a very special anniversary. This right here is the Kershaw Livewire, celebrating 50 years in business. So this limited edition expression of the Livewire features MagnaCut steel and this engraving on the handle right here. So as you can see, it goes from 1974 to 2024. That is 50 years in business.
Math checks out.
Yep. The Livewire is relatively new to the market, but it's already been a huge success for Kershaw and really kind of for the USA-made OTF market in general. It's very easy to use. The switch is very smooth. The spring tension is firm but not difficult to overcome, so it's easy to deploy one-handed. The design is very stylish. You know, it sticks to classic OTF lines in that it's almost completely straight, but you know, it's got some cool Diskin personality to it. Matt Diskin, the designer of this knife, got cool bevels on there and textures that help pull it all together. Also got a nice deep carry pocket clip. The angle looks a little extreme, but it works in the pocket just fine. And yeah, this knife's been a hit. This version has MagnaCut steel, that special engraving, and maybe the best part of all is the price at just $199.95. I believe these are the cheapest live wires we've ever had on our shelves. So if you want to celebrate Kershaw's birthday, pick one of these up and see what's so special about it. So next up is another knife that is new, even though it looks like a knife you may have seen before. This is the Boker Kihon DC 2.0. The 2.0 here means that the internals have been redesigned. So the original version of this knife kind of had the same materials, so D2 steel, molded plastic handles, but it had full steel liners, which made the knife very sturdy but a bit heavy. So Boker went back and redesigned the whole liners and scales interior completely to give us this 2.0 version. And it's noticeably lighter. They minimized the liners while still maintaining kind of the ultra strong character of the original. You can see this screw right here holds in the liner. It kind of narrows down to go around here, and then it goes back and around to meet with these screws. So you've still got a piece of steel running almost all the way through the handle. That's going to give you great strength, but it's not filling up the entire profile of the handle to save on weight. And I mean, like I said, it's noticeable. The weight, the balance is different. The weight is much more lively, but it's still got great bones. I mean, this is a hardworking, affordable knife. These come in at $42.46. And to me, it's just kind of a no-brainer for a simple but refined, hard-working knife that's affordable enough that you can kind of thrash on it. Yeah, I really like that they went back. I always appreciate when companies refine a design over time. Just shows that they're really trying to improve and they're taking things seriously. So always love to see that. Check this 2.0 version out if you agree. Got some new versions of the ESEE Avispa and Zancudo here. You may notice already the biggest change here, which is this crossbar lock. But what you can't tell from pictures is that that crossbar lock is actually an automatic switch. So yes, these are automatic versions of the Avispa and Zancudo. Pretty cool to see. It also means that they are made in the USA. So this Avispa has 3.5 inches of 14C28N steel. It's $109.95. And the Zancudo, same specs, but 3 inches of 14C28N and $94.95. Both of these designs, you know, whether you want the 3-inch or the 3.5-inch knife, are very much designed to be comfortable, hardworking, kind of even outdoor capable type of folding designs. The handles are noticeably thick to really give you something to grip onto when you need to. Still got a nice flat grind though for slicing performance. And with 14C steel, you're gonna have a good amount of toughness, stain resistance too. It's a pretty cool package they've put together here. I don't know that anybody was really expecting this, but it's definitely a pleasant surprise. And always cool to see that these knives are made in the USA as well. Next up is a new and even more affordable version of the CJRB Pyrite. This is the Pyrite-Light, and it comes in at just $29.95. The biggest change here, other than the price, is these handles, which are molded, you know, kind of a fiberglass reinforced nylon type material. The blade steel is still CJRB's excellent RPM 9 steel, and the design is the Pyrite you may know and love. It's a really, really optimized EDC design, especially with this kind of modified Wharncliffe blade. You've got precision, you've got fidget-friendly button lock action, ball bearing pivot, and you know, the molded scales, yes, they're cheaper, but the shape is also arguably even more sophisticated. There's a bit of contour to it. The texture is nice and gentle, so it's not going to tear up your pockets. The pocket clip is ambidextrous. One little feature I'm noticing now that I have it in front of me too is that the spine appears to be lightly crowned. Pretty nice little luxurious detail there for a $30 knife. Yeah, these are super sweet. I imagine they'll sell pretty quick, so if they sell out, I'm sure we'll get more of them, but for 30 bucks, it's hard to say no to this one. Okay, next up from Case, we have the latest version of their Bridgeline series. This is the Longhouse front flipper. Comes in at $188.99 and features CPM 20CV steel, burlap micarta handles, and this all-over black DLC finish. Very cool, modern locking folder from Case, built alongside their slip joints, and with very much that same signature slip joint style. I think, you know, at a glance, especially if you ignore that pocket clip, from a distance, there's so much about this that speaks to many of Case's classic designs. You know, there's a bit of Barlow in here, a bit of, I don't know, Trapper even with the clip point blade shape. You know, Case knows traditional patterns, and they've brought that knowledge into their modern knives with this series. They are absolutely some of my favorite modern knives that Case makes, and this front flipping version is just a great way to give you that one-handed deployment without really interfering with the smooth, satisfying shape of the knife when it's closed. You know, you don't have a big protuberance of a flipper tab, you know, how thumb studs sticking out. Just that little hint of a extension there for the front flipper, and works great. It was a stiff on the first couple flips, but it broke in almost immediately, and now I'm having no trouble at all getting it to work. Yeah, very satisfying, very easy to use, and you know, for a compromise that maintains the clean lines of a traditional styled pocket knife, I really love what they've done here. Okay, next we are jumping up a couple of pay grades with a very special knife that we hopefully still have in the building by the time you see this. This right here is the Holt Bladeworks Morpheus. This one happens to be number 1584, but each one is individually serialized and unique in different ways from each other. Unique in different ways is unique. Uniquely unique. Each one is different, that's what I'm trying to say. This one, I actually went for the very, very top of the range of the ones we have on the site at the moment. So this is as expensive as it gets. This is $1,575. But I think, honestly, out of almost all the knives at this price point, this one justifies the price more than any of them. And it all comes down to the way that this thing feels. The action is incredible, and I'm not usually the kind of person to get excited and over the moon about how a knife operates, but it's just spectacular. It's definitely something special. Every part of the experience is just so silky smooth. You know, the blade drops shut all on its own. There is a kind of uniquely shaped detent to give you that even finer sort of tuning to the release and the feel of it. Yeah, just amazing. I mean, you feel the detent release underneath the finger there. You hear it crack open, and then just this satisfying pop when it locks into place. The whole thing is just truly a delightful sensory experience. And you know, for $1,500, almost $1,600, you would hope to receive a very special experience, and I do think that the Holt gives you that. So this version also matches that high level of performance with the materials to elevate it as well. So this has Magna Cut steel, it has a Damascus clip and backspacer, and maybe just regular titanium hardware, but anodized kind of to match the Damascus there. Every inch of this knife is just finished perfectly, extraordinarily precise, and they're even kind of flexing that. They're really showing it off, the way that they tuck the tip of the blade into a cutout within the backspacer. You know, they are confident that this knife is going to be perfectly centered. So yeah, truly a showpiece here, and a special knife that we don't often get to have on our shelves. So, you know, it may not be for you, but this is a knife worth showing off. Speaking of special knives and expensive knives, this next William Henry is not nearly so pricey, but is $725. And you know, the William Henry kind of takes a different approach to that next level budget. You know, when you start spending that much money on a knife, you really unlock a lot of potential materials and finishing techniques and, you know, just craftsmanship. And William Henry, I think, is a little bit underrated because they put more of a hands-on, old world jewelry type of craftsmanship into their knife making. So whereas that Holt was very high tech, very ultra precise, you know, the William Henry is investing a lot of that budget into very special materials and a very fancy look. And this is a pretty cool expression of that. So this is the Kestrel Fervor, and it's got a unique blade material. This is copper wave Damascus. So in between the or around the core steel here, it's got layers of different copper alloys that have been you know, forged together, and you can see the kind of gold copper tone coming through. They match that tone with other little details like the inlaid stones in the button for the button lock. Got a titanium frame here, carbon fiber inlays, a elegant pocket clip, and you know, I enjoy when knife makers really of all stripes and all different kinds of budgets take small knives seriously. You know, they put as much effort into small knives as they do their big ones. And this is a small knife that is every bit as well made as their larger offerings. So just 2.1 inches of blade is all we have here, but you know, you've got a nice bit of finger choil to give you a little extra grip to work with, and it feels every bit as smooth as the rest of their button locks. Just kind of silky operation, easy one-handed opening, and yeah, a really, really elegant compact pocket knife to bring a sense of, I don't know, specialness to wherever you take this thing. Speaking of elegant, a new slip joint just arrived from MKM. This is the Jaques, designed by Jesper Voxnes. This little guy has 2.7 inches of MagnaCut steel and comes in at $219. Although I think prices can go up or down from there slightly depending on exactly the handle configuration you get. But whichever one you pick, it's all going to have titanium kind of liners and bolsters, a wire pocket clip, and a nice snappy slip joint action. So this slip joint features one of my very favorite kind of elements of slip joint design, which is this notch here. These are sometimes called easy open notches, and they encourage you to ignore the nail nick when you go to open a knife like this. Just plenty of room there to pinch and open that way. I always appreciate that, you know, on a slip joint that has that feature, I always use it, and it just makes it more accessible. The way this thing fits in the hand too, it also kind of works as a little finger scallop there, at least for my ring finger. It's comfortable. It doesn't impact the ergonomics much. I mean, it would maybe if I was using this like a bushcraft knife, but come on, this is a Wharncliffe bladed slip joint, so our expectations should keep that in mind. It is very comfortable though, honestly. I mean, every chamfer has been nicely smoothed. Wire pocket clip, you know, has a springiness to it and a roundness to the wire that makes it quite comfortable. Like most Italian knives, and especially most high-end Italian knives, this also has a crowned spine. It's gonna make it comfy in the pocket, you know, as your hand is kind of reaching past it. It even kind of matches the crowned back spring too. So when open, just get a nice, smooth, uninterrupted curve. Very nice, cool EDC slip joint from MKM and Vox Knives. Next up are some fun new utility knives from the James brand. This is their Palmer pocket utility knife. And as you can see, we've got some translucent plastic here. I pulled two colors. Got a sort of teal and a purple here. I think they were kind of going for the original Apple iMac palette. If you remember that, maybe Thomas can throw up a picture on screen.
Man, I feel old.
Yeah, those things were cool. Definitely the envy of, well, they made computers not beige for like the first time ever. And in that spirit, perhaps, this utility knife is aiming to be fun and cool as well. Luckily, it's also cheaper. These come in at $39. And, you know, the Palmer is a very refined utility knife. The operation is smooth. It's quite comfortable. You know, it's a very simple slab-like shape, but it's big enough and wide enough to get a good grip on. It doesn't present a ton of the utility knife. You've got just this much sticking up, but the way that this line kind of curves into the edge, it actually makes it surprisingly aggressive in its cutting. You know, you can approach, say, a cardboard box from this angle or straight on or pull back a little bit and kind of feeds that cardboard into the edge. So it works quite well. The other thing with these that I think is just something to note is the switch is exceptionally smooth. Sometimes, you know, these kind of out the front push button actuation utility knives can have a bit of a hitch in their giddy up. This one, that never happens. It's just smooth and pleasant to use. So Now we've got a cool looking new translucent version of this. Show off how it works while you use it. All right, the first of many fixed blades on the table today is this new one from Viper. This is the Ranger. It is designed by Jens Anso. It is $159.95, and this particular one has Sure Touch handles. This is an interesting one. I'm trying to wrap my head around it because to me, it feels like a hard use kitchen knife, which is a bit of an oxymoron, but nonetheless a interesting and perhaps quite useful idea. You know, when you're out in the woods, say, you're going to be doing camp kitchen tasks and campfire, you know, wood carving, fire making tasks. So rather than bring an axe and a kitchen knife, I don't know, you could bring something like this. It's not going to chop like an axe, but I do think it's thick enough to kind of split small kindling with. The handle, especially with the Sure Touch material, is going to give you some impact protection. You know, it's basically alternating layers of G10 and vulcanized rubber. So it has a bit of the combination of both of those materials, the stability and strength of G10 with the, you know, squishiness, extra grip, impact protection of rubber. Really cool material. I love to see it on fixed blade handles. It feels great. And, you know, in this handle, we've also got an interesting kind of wraparound construction. So as you can see, the tang does extend all the way to the end of the handle, but pinches in a little bit here around the first finger and thumb to completely surround the tang there. So you're only feeling the handle when you put your fingers there, and it's quite comfortable, very pleasant. This is just a pleasant knife, and I imagine it will be fun to use on kitchen tasks and, you know, hard to use fixed blade tasks. Blade steel on this is N690, and the sheath is this beautiful, finely made leather affair here. Okay, the biggest knife on the table is upon us. This is the Tops Lilith. This has 14 inches of 1095 carbon steel, comes in at $289 and features micarta handles. Although it's not very thin like a typical machete, it's definitely got a full tang, full strength fixed blade kind of architecture here, and a very interesting finger guard design. The handle is, as you can see, plenty big enough to kind of ignore it if you want to come back here for full leverage. Even you could string a lanyard for a little extra there. I can get all the way back here. Or you can choke up, put your first finger in that hole there, and be kind of locked in. It even works as a little bit of a pivot around which the whole knife can move. Yeah, this thing is just a hybrid of a bunch of different tools. This would be a lot of fun to take out and test its capabilities. I think that's part of what Tops does best. They really make knives that dare you to get out there and use them hard. And the Lilith is just, I mean, look at this blade. The wild recurved tanto grind on it. It's got a fuller. It's even got a swedge running all the way back from this finger ramp here, straight to the tip. Really, really drawing out that edge and giving it a bit of tactical style for sure. Boy, what a beast. Look, I can even get two hands on this thing. No problem.
Charge!
The sheath for this is Kydex. I've got a nice approach here. So you put it in there. Don't cut the tab. Snaps in with authority. Got an extra retention snap there and a drop belt loop to carry about as comfortably as you can expect with something this large and heavy. The price on these, $289.95. And just so you can picture how much of a beast this thing really is, the weight is 31.2 ounces without the sheath. So yeah, we're talking big beast here. Next up is a new exclusive version of a Work Tuff fixed blade. Smaller, but with no less attitude than the Tops. This is the Small Little Evil Fighter. So this is a Zeke Minacho design, and is a, I wouldn't say it's a take on the Tracker exactly. I think there's just more of a tactical attitude to this, but it does have some of those Tracker characteristics. So that blade shape with its recurved portion here that meets the front belly in just a bit of a hook. I think it's going to be just enough to do the kind of feather sticking operation that a Tracker can do. So you hold the stick like this and pull towards you, kind of in a chest lever grip, and it just curls off feathers, almost like nothing else. It's quite a cool trick to do with your Tracker knife if you haven't tried it. But yeah, I would not recommend this for bushcraft, though I have no doubt that you could with the proper skills. So the exclusive part of this knife is these handles. They are contoured red and black G10. One of my other favorite details about this particular knife is the finish on the flats of the blade here. They have been kind of carved and then satin finished. A lot of the times with these kind of aggressive stone finish carved looks, they really get acid washed, and it's an aggressive look, but the satin finish on this just is kind of classy, kind of nice. And it catches the light really nice too to show off that cool pattern. Like all Work Tuff knives, the edge on these is phenomenal. Convex, highly polished, highly refined, perfectly symmetrical, and also thick enough to give a lot of toughness here. This is a knife I would not hesitate to baton with, to use hard. Absolutely made for that. The handles are quite thick and very aggressively contoured, so we've got a nice scoop in towards the end here. Really puts the bulk of that handle right at the front of your palm there to kind of, take the force of a rough push cut. Cool hybrid design here. Got a extended pommel with these scallops for striking and crushing. For the sheath, comes with Kydex here, pancake style, and Work Tuff's usual bag of extras. So right there, that's a belt loop. Looks like it turns 90 degrees. We got a cleaning cloth, some stickers, some paracord, all good stuff. Before we move on, I need to mention the blade steel, which I believe is new for this run. These feature K329 blade steel, which is a extremely tough carbon steel, very impact resistant. It's somewhat analogous to A8, maybe in between A8 and S7. If you're really into your carbon steels, that'll mean something to you, but suffice it to say, it's very tough stuff, is going to hold up to whatever you can throw at it. Speaking of tough carbon steels, the next knife from Casstrom is somewhat of a departure for them. So Casstrom is a Swedish knife brand known for making bushcraft blades, using a lot of stainless, using a lot of simple carbon steels. This, though, is a steel that I haven't seen from them before, as far as I know. This is A8 Mod, which is, just a slightly tweaked recipe of A8 steel. Like I said, with that Work Tuff, it is incredibly tough stuff, very impact resistant, and I think perfectly suits this new, much larger Puko style. This has 5.5 inches of blade, Scandi grind, comes in at $233 with these gorgeous curly birch handles. But there's also a micarta version for a little less, and you can also spend a little more to get a matching fire steel with this knife. So I really like this design. If there was one knife on the table I had to take home with me today, it would be this one, honestly. I think I'd get the most use out of it. The balance feels really nice. Sometimes, with a full tang knife and a Scandi grind, the balance can get a little funky with all that steel running all the way through the knife, but I think the extended blade length on this just makes it feel perfect. One other tiny detail, and Thomas is probably gonna have to get this in B-roll. They've actually added the tiniest little sharpening choil to this Scandi grind. So you can sharpen all the way back to the heel here. Really, really nice, you know, just that extra touch from a company that you know, wants to see its knives getting used and being used and staying useful well into the future. Yeah, you'll love to see it. The handle is incredibly comfortable here. Not as much contouring on something like that. Work tough, but still, you know, shaped with all the right curves to fill your hand in all the right places for both, you know, comfort in different grips and exerting lots of force when you need to cut hard. As you might expect, this comes with a leather sheath. This version, like I said, doesn't have the fire steel, but if you do get the fire steel version, it's got a loop there where the fire steel attaches. So really nice package, 233 bucks, an excellent, larger than average bushcraft knife from Casstrom.
All these fixed blades and no David.
I know. The last fixed blades on the table are from Finnish brand Peltonen. We've got kind of refreshed versions of their M95 and M07 Ranger knives. You know, these could be bushcraft blades. I think they share a bit of that DNA, but they are not ground for, you know, ultimate performance in woodworking. I'm going to take this larger one for an example. So rather than a Scandi grind, these have a saber grind with a secondary bevel. It's still a nicely thin edge. You know, it's still going to do the work. It's still going to be able to carve, but it doesn't have the ultimate precision of something like a Scandi grind. The advantage of that, however, is more toughness. So this is kind of rebalancing the Puko formula a little more over onto the survival knife side of things. The handles are going to be waterproof too, so, you know, kind of an all conditions knife here. The 80 CRV2 steel, another tough, simple carbon steel that's an excellent choice for an outdoor blade. These have been given a Cerakote finish, I believe. Maybe not Cerakote branded finish, but it certainly feels something like that. Definitely a tough coating that's going to protect the blade from corrosion and kind of give it these cool military drab color schemes too. So this one is the Coyote Tan. This one is the Ranger Green. Also comes in all black, I believe. So whether you go for the 5.8 inch blade for $105.99 or the 4.6 inch blade for the same price, you're going to get a very capable outdoors knife. Has some bushcraft capability, some survival knife capability, made in Finland. And I got to show off these sheaths. They are truly some of the best molded sheaths on the market. And it's not anything to do with the molding exactly. I mean, the molding works great, but this right here, this rubber wheel is the coolest sheath feature. So you put the knife in, it just kind of sits naturally, and then you have to push it past that rubber wheel, and it almost acts like a little detent. So the wheel kind of compresses and turns slightly and then locks in behind that finger guard. It makes the, the rubber, the squishiness of the rubber absorbs all the rattle. So even though it's a molded sheath, it's totally silent. It holds it very securely. It's not coming out, but because it's so compressible, because it's rubber, it's very easy to just push and get your knife out when you need it. I love this system, super clever. I'd love to see this on more sheaths. I don't know if Peltonen has, a patent on this or anything, but really cool design. And yeah, they also come with a kind of nylon Velcro strap to hang this off your belt. And the last Peltonen on the table is this little guy, the M23 Finnish Ranger Cub. This one is more pure bushcraft. I mean, this thing is a carver. It's got a proper Scandi grind. It's got that tapered, precise tip for getting in and around detailed carvings, whether you're bushcrafting up some traps for game or carving a spoon. or just whittling away next to a campfire, this is made for that. The handle is molded. It's got a bit of it's not rubber, but it has a softness to the texture. Definitely comfortable to feel your hand, to bear down on. You know, it's plenty wide enough here to give you a full grip. And, you know, I appreciate even when fixed blade makers make their blades small, that they keep their handles full-sized, and that's what you get with this Ranger Cub. This too is $105.99, and it comes with this simple Kydex sheath. Snaps in, easy peasy. Very helpfully has instructions on how to operate the pull the dot strap. So should you forget how to pull the dot, they'll remind you. The last item on the table today is a sort of a seasonal event almost.
It's not a knife.
It's not a knife, exactly. Thank you, Thomas. Not yet a knife. This is the Boker Advent Calendar for 2024. There are two options. One is this kit to make a Boker haddock. The other one is a kit to make the Aphex Mini. I think it's that Burnley design. In any case, if you're familiar with what an Advent calendar is, every day for the month preceding Christmas, you open one of these little boxes, and by the time you get to Christmas, you have all the parts you need to make this knife. Really fun project, and in fact includes a lot of extras too. So there are a choice of handle scales and different bolsters and extra hardware. So you can really make the knife your own. And not to spoil the surprise, but Christmas is going to come very early this year, because this coming Tuesday, Thomas and I are going to break into this kit and put together this knife. So what we'd like to do in order to keep that kind of interesting, rather than just have you watch us build it, we'd like to answer your questions, and not the Knife AQ questions. If you have questions about a knife, feel free to drop it in. But this is your chance to ask anything. Anything you want to know about Thomas or myself, or I don't know, what we think of David while he's away. Feel free to drop it in the comments below, and we might select it to answer on Tuesday as we put this knife together. So these are in stock now, available. Get them ahead of Advent. They are $135.96. Very cool.
You get a knife out of it.
Yeah. Also comes with a stand. Look at that. Unfolds. Very cool. So that's it for this week. Knives you can get for free. Knives you can click the description to head over to KnifeCenter.com and buy. And we had knives you can make yourself. So if you want to get any of these, don't forget about our Knife Rewards program, because if you're going to put your money down on something like this, you might as well get some money to spend towards your next knife. With that, I've been Seth V. That's Thomas behind the camera, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.